stadium could tell.
This is the elusive throats of the Dallas Stars leader fan radio network.
It's frustrating.
And KFAN.com. It is frustrating, is it not? 1 minute and 58 seconds past the hour, 3 o'clock Central Daylight Time. We welcome you back on a beautiful, well, not so pretty, a little cloudy and very muggy Thursday afternoon here in the Twin Cities of Minneapolis and St. Paul. It's draft day. I'm looking at the countdown. NFL draft will begin in 3 hours, 59 minutes, and 6 seconds.
Look at all those kids wandering aimlessly around Pittsburgh because they don't have school today. It's like the movie Newsies, just newsboys running around in the street.
Well, I will say this right off the bat. I saw, so NFL Network is now part of the ESPN family, right?
Yeah, ESPN bought them.
They bought them.
Yes.
So they have what's the name of their highly acclaimed morning show?
Good Morning Football.
Good Morning Football. So I'm seeing it on ESPN2, and then it occurred to me, oh, yeah, that's right, they bought them. And they're basically, in the background behind them is the stage. And now, again, this is like a little after 8 Central.
So 11 hours before the draft starts?
But it was empty. And I'm thinking to myself, my recollection was Green Bay, it was already full. It looked very vacant. Now I see they got... I'll be honest with you. I think the crowd totals are going to be dramatically inflated yet again for reasons we got into on yesterday's program. But today is draft day, and we'll be on it all over from this show almost from start to finish. But there's so much else going on right now that it won't be 24/7. It won't be basically from 3 o'clock to 6:30, draft this and draft that. Ben Lieber will talk draft with us at 4:47 today. But, man, we've got Minnesota Timberwolves stuff to preview. We've got Minnesota Wild stuff to get to. We've got some really good Duns as a Society items to discuss. And a very special music-related guest is scheduled for 4:02 to sort of maybe give us a little relief from everything else that's on the platter. Bradshaw and Bryant KFAN text line has been rebooted at 646-86. We've talked a lot on this show about boot on the throat mentality and how it has tended to elude the Minnesota Wild in the postseason. I think when we did the research, it was confirmed we've lost our last 9 postseason series. That's not very encouraging. It's not very helpful. But this year was supposed to be different. It still might be different. But what was going to make it be different? What was going to allow the Wild? What was going to put the Wild in a position where they could say, finally, you can't mock us anymore. We're different. We're more serious. We're more talented. And we're going to go after this thing. Well, it was applying the boot or skate on the throat of the opposing team when you had them down. Or in this case, going into last night's game, it was 1-1, but you had split 2 games on the road. So it was a great opportunity, it appeared, to go up 2-1 and perish the thought, get to that boot on the throat place where you go 2 games up, which, of course, the Minnesota Wild never have. And the question on the table early is simply this. If the Dallas Stars' throats proved elusive again last night, is that because they're still pretty damned good? They know how to play in the postseason. They've been there. They haven't won a cup recently, but they've been, I think, to the conference finals each of the last, I believe it's 3 seasons. Is it they're just good at it? They understand the yin and the yang of it, the ups and downs of a playoff series, the twists and the turns? Or is it, again, we still have not mastered that boot on the throat mentality? Will this be the game, pivotal game 3, as we say in the business, that we'll look back on when this series is over and we're licking our wounds, that was the game that was there for us and that we were unable to win? That's the question on the table. How much of it's them? How much of it, if we're being honest about it, is us, that we still haven't mastered it? 5 power plays in the third period and overtimes. 5. What did we do with those opportunities?
Nothing. One of them was a decent power play.
Yeah.
The others, not so much.
Not so much. And the bottom line is you got to score. It's you don't get beauty points. You don't get points for that. They put the pressure on. And I know, didn't Kaprizov hit the post once?
Yes.
I don't know if that was on a power play or not, but he did. And for the game, I believe they finished 3 for 8 on the power play. We finished a paltry 1 for 7. Boys and girls, 8 power play opportunities for the opposing team. Is that part of our ability to control our emotions and continue to exact revenge in the best way possible, which is to beat the Dallas Stars? I would say no. Our 3:30 guest, Lou Nanne, might disagree. We'll see what he has to say. Bonus Louie is coming up at 3:30 this afternoon. But I can't help but get back to that boot on the throat aspect. I mean, even within the game, we've got a 3-2 lead after a nice comeback, correct?
Yes.
We're down 2-0.
We were. And it was a great comeback. Some great kills.
Terrific.
It was awesome.
And then we have a chance, really, again, going back to the third period power plays, to make it 4-2. And that's not boot on the throat, but that's putting the pressure on them in a way that might make them crack. Who's to say? But we did not get that done. Did not. You can argue how close we came to it. It doesn't matter whether we got that done. So is this a game that's going to haunt us when we look back on this series? It's not over. I'm not suggesting it's over. But I also have to be honest. As much as we want to believe that this team is different, it's built different, has more talent, perhaps has more versatility, it's difficult to give this club the benefit of the doubt on the boot on the throat mentality until they do it. They have to do it at some point. We say that year after year after year, and then we go back to, well, it sounds good to say boot on the throat. It's a great expression in sports. Bill Guerin loves it. He brought it up when we had him on last Friday, but it's not always that simple. It might have something to do with the other team intruding, and it, again, might be that you're not equipped as much as you like to think you were equipped. I don't know, but it's a very disappointing, a great game, obviously. That's what you look for in the postseason, but it's hard to be philosophical in that sense. Now, if we knew now that the Wild are going to want to win this series, then I think it'd be easier to be philosophical about last night and say, it's a hell of a game. I mean, we've already had then what might be classified as a classic first-round playoff game in the Wild series, and already had at least one of those in the Wolves-Nuggets series, which continues tonight right here on the Fan, correct?
After the draft,
After the draft. So, will we look back and say, this is the one? It was there for you. You're ahead at home with a chance to go up 2 goals, and you just still don't have the ability to get that goal where you say, they're going places. Think about that and hit the Bradshaw and Bryant KFAN text line at 64686. Do you have that fear, or do you think it's too early to say it?
I actually, in these situations, I always think it's the original boot on the throat game that ends up biting you more than last night. I almost think game 2, where they were much more reckless. Like last night, they had penalties. A couple of them were just bizarre because you're chucking the puck out of the ring.
Yeah.
It's a different kind of self-inflicted wound. Like, I've never seen the Boldy, firing it from basically his own net.
Yeah.
200 feet into like row 10 if there wasn't a net
I don't
there.
think you could do that even if you tried.
Not on the ice.
Yeah,
I could do it
not
on
the
dry
ice.
land maybe.
Yeah, but not on the ice.
Not on the ice. Right. I'd fall. I'd hurt myself. I almost always go back to the game before the game you're talking about, where you've got, and they were more reckless with the penalties, it seemed like, and you let that one slip. Now you come back, and it was a good game last night. They played well for big stretches of it. The second period, they had like a 5-minute shift. That was one of the best shifts I've ever seen. Just hellacious. And we're doing a good job and got themselves back into the game. But yeah, so I think I'm probably splitting hairs. When you have an opportunity, whether it's game 2 or game 3, and you don't get it, you can absolutely possibly rue the day that you didn't get that done.
Well, there is such a thing. You can make the argument, as you are trying to do, that there's a different kind of, that last night was more about a different kind of penalty. And I won't disagree with that, but I'll say, and again, that one might be freakish, but they all count. And this is a team, the hockey guys laid it out this morning. This was one of the least penalized teams in hockey this year. So whatever the reason, whether it's emotion or just professionalism, letting you down at the worst possible moment, it all adds up. That's too many opportunities for the other team, and they obviously took more advantage of their opportunities than we did, too. So let's do this. Let's get our first pause in here. I mentioned Louis at the bottom of the hour, Alan Paul at 4:02, Lieber 4:47. Dr. Dan's inbox will be open at 5:30. Email Guardsy, JG at KFAN for your participation. And Bonus Johnny Athletic to preview Wolves Nuggets in game number 3 at 6:02. But first,
TheFan and BigDeck.com. I'm going to give you a shot to win bonus bucks with our national cash contest. You can enter the keyword coin at KFAN.com. That's your shot at winning. Go to KFAN.com and enter the keyword coin. Miss your chance to know what the latest sports news is in town. Chances to win tickets, knowing what's going on with all your favorite KFAN shows. Follow us on social, KFAN1003, Instagram, TikTok, X. You can stay connected. Follow the sports leader, KFAN.
A lot of text pouring into the Bradshaw and Bryant KFAN text line. Lou Nanne coming up in about 10 minutes or so. From Dan Minnesota, the unofficial sports historian of the program, I guess this would be in the category of on this date, in 1950, the Minneapolis Lakers beat the Syracuse Nationals 110-95 to win the NBA title in 6 games. I bring it to your attention not because I want to necessarily do a deep dive on it, but what Minnesota does generally is he links to a newspaper story. I do love that.
Yep.
And sometimes you can maximize it and read some interesting copy in it. Here's the headline on that story. Well, let me just read the lead. I'm going to be able to. It's a little bit blurry, but I think I can. The worst officiating I've seen in 30 years of basketball, declared Syracuse playing coach Al Servey after he had showered and cooled off following the Minneapolis Lakers victory. Please quote me, continued the fiery coach, who'd been banished from the final playoff game in the third quarter for protesting too vigorously to a referee call following a scuffle for a loose ball. This entire playoff series has been officiated as poorly as it is a disgrace. They've ruined the games for the players. I'm not mad at anybody but the officials. I wasn't fighting with Carlson. I blew my top because I couldn't stand the officiating any longer. Either the officials better improve or all of us better quit trying to play basketball.
The more things change.
April 23rd, 1950.
Was George Mikan the original free throw merchant?
He was on that team.
He was, I know.
No question about that.
Maybe he was the original free throw merchant.
I'm just telling it for the kids to understand that they didn't discover electricity with this notion that I've had it. It's never been worse. It's a disgrace. The league will never survive it. They were saying that in 1950s. The NBA still around? I think it is.
It is. Maybe more popular than ever.
Maybe there were some bad calls in that game. I don't even know. I'm not here to say there can never be bad calls. I am here to say that there is nothing new under the sun. I know we think it's a bigger crisis now because it's now. And we're invested. And we think we connect dots in a way that they couldn't connect them in 1950, not because they didn't exist, but because there were not all the social media streams that can indeed connect those dots in a way to say they're out to get us, and the referees have never, ever, ever, ever been worse. Another example I will give you to that point. Here's what we're already hearing regarding tonight. We're already underdogs. I think the spread recently I saw was like Denver's favored by 2.5 in that range. More disrespect for us. But beyond that, if you want to play into this victimization culture when it comes to officiating, what did we find out? Who's the lead official tonight?
Your guy, Scott Foster.
Scott Foster. And so
he doesn't like us.
It doesn't even matter what might happen. It won't even matter what calls were made, whether they're legit or not. By definition, any call he makes against us will be wrong and will be biased and will be compromised because he can't stand us. Now, we apparently have nothing to do with that on the basis of our own conduct, which is convenient. But here's the other story that's not getting as much attention. Unofficially, here's what I've got. Our record in the playoffs with Scott Foster officiating. 5-5.
Not bad.
You know what the Denver record is? 10-13.
Yeah.
They hate him too. And what's the moral of that story? Everybody hates him. Now, we can have, I'm sure, deep dive athletic style reporting done on who got screwed more often and how much in what round and how much was at stake. And whether his bias against us is fresher than it might be against Denver. But I'm just here to tell you, no matter how well he calls the game tonight, it will make no difference. We are already waiting with bated breath on the first call to say, there he goes again, can't trust him. Because, he's the guy who threw Nas out this year?
Yep.
And then didn't Rudy do the money thing with him?
He did.
As well?
Yep, he did.
Which usually is resulting in a person being thrown out. And we don't mind that when other players do it. But, of course, when we do it, he was just telling the truth. So get online. It's not difficult to do it. And, again, I don't think we're back to the issue of, are people more conspiratorial about referees now than they were in 1950? My guess is they aren't.
It doesn't, from those quotes, it doesn't sound like it.
What I think that the lesson from that story that I got was the only meaningful difference is people couldn't work themselves up together via social media the way they can now. So I'm not sure it's fair to assume that we've lost our minds and in this nonsense more than ever. It just may be we see the results of how crazed we indeed get. And in 1950, I don't think there was a message board for the Syracuse Nationals,
right,
their fans to get on to say they screwed us. You see how badly they did. Our coach got thrown out of the game. He called it the worst officiating he had ever seen in the history of basketball. So there you have it. We'll see how that goes. I got a kick out of the quotes themselves.
It's great.
You feel like they're out of 2026, right? The approach, which is,
it's what Devin Booker said last night.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
Quote me. I don't like saying stuff like this. I don't ever, in Booker's case, he said, I haven't talked about refs in 11 years, which, by the way, I'd like to see a truth test done on that.
He's never named a ref, is what he said.
He did say that.
Yeah.
But in general, he said he's never gotten this animated to this degree. Regardless, there's absolutely nothing new under the sun, for sure. Over-under on the refs you suck chant tonight. Can we come up with something more clever than that?
No.
Well, how about this? How about, don't you think, I think do your job is more clever than refs you suck. And it's still, I mean, it's not incredibly original, but I think I prefer it. If you're going to go down that road, do your job. Don't you think that sounds a little less crass than refs you suck?
I think crass is the point, though.
Yeah,
I think
know,
that's the problem.
But if you're trying to deliver, and are we going to have for either? My suggestion yesterday is, and it's shocking coming from me, that fans need to start the first time that Jamal Murray attracts a foul call or Joker does, free throw merchant. You got to grab onto it, don't you? It's a great opportunity. Update it.
Yeah.
Because you can get to eventually we'll be playing Oklahoma City in this postseason.
The way it's going.
So we'll still have a chance to use it then, but why not update it for the current situation?
Well, given that Oklahoma City might have lost J-Dubs with a hammy, and LeBron's just going to carry the Lakers until Luka comes back. It might be the Lakers. It might be the Lakers in the Western Conference Finals. I don't know.
It's possible. I rule nothing out at this point. Willow Mark Rosen's cat writes, the message board in 1950 was a party line on everyone's rotary phone. Well played. That's about it. But not that many people are in on those phones. You old enough to remember a party phone?
No.
I
don't think so.
I actually remember a party line. I think my grandmother.
What was it?
Well, it's the kind of thing where it's not, for a while, it wasn't just that household on that number. So if you picked up the phone, there might be another conversation someone else is having, and then you just got to put the phone back down because you can't dial out. But that's what a party line was. There was such a thing as a party line back in the day.
It was always a nightmare when you wanted to call your 8th grade girlfriend and you'd pick up your old house phone and your mom was talking to her friends. Like, well, how long is this going to be? Can we get a student line?
Yeah, you're right about that.
She's talking to her sister. It's like, can we call Aunt Bo back later? Need to see what Allie's up to. All right, we've got a mixer coming up.
But maybe that saved you from embarrassing yourself on the other hand. Or did you eventually get around to it anyway?
I was going to say, delayed me.
Delayed your embarrassment.
Delayed the embarrassment, which,
very
happens.
true. All right, let's talk puck. Questions for Luigi. Bradshaw and Bryant KFAN text line at 64686. Is this series over? Let me know what you think. I'm guessing Louis will say it isn't, but we'll get into that subject. More particulars from last night's game, maybe some leftover stuff from game number 2, because I think Louis is mad at several of us in that regard. And then we'll prepare for a great eclectic mix the rest of the program. Alan Paul, Ode to a Dead Guy. That's the musical section of the program today. Ben Lieber on the draft at 4:47. And Dr. Dan's inbox. Not to mention Johnny Athletic. It is a full show.
Well, she sneaks around the world from Virginia to Carolina. She's a sticky-fingered filcher from Berlin down to Belize. She'll take you for a ride on a slow boat to China. Tell me, where in the world is
Lou Nanne?
Bonus Louis on this very busy Thursday afternoon here at Twin Cities of Minneapolis and St. Paul. Louis, can we clear up a couple of things first before we get to your reaction to game number 3 last night? A lot of good questions that have already come in for you. Can you once and for all confirm or deny that once upon a time you had referees locked into the dressing room between periods at Met Center?
Well, no, I've never, ever done that. And hell, I'd be suspended. They'd throw the key away. I mean, no, I didn't do that. What happened one time? And it wasn't me so much. I was frustrated with the referee in this game, and we got what I thought was a very weak penalty, and so did everybody else in the building. We had scored on, we get beat. And so I'm going down to the locker room afterwards, and the trainer, Doc Rose, he was, I'd have to say he was more upset than I was when the referees used to screw up. And he was a wonderful person, great guy, had great relationships with the referees and the linesmen. And at the end of every game, he'd always give them a 6-pack of beer. In those days, we even had beer in the locker room.
Yes.
It was
different time.
Beer in the locker room.
Yeah.
Different time. And so the referees, didn't have to hurry out of the building, and they'd drink a beer or two. That was it. So I'm coming down, and I'm making a beeline for the room, and he's coming the other way, and I said, Doc, don't give those guys any beer tonight. They don't deserve it. He said, I not only didn't give them any beer, I locked them in the damn room. Well, he locked them in a room. I didn't lock them in a room. So I says, okay, fine. I didn't say anything about it. 7 o'clock, maybe 6:30 in the morning, my time, Brian O'Neill calls. He's the vice president of the National Hockey League in charge of discipline and that. And I pick up the phone, and he starts screaming at me about what am I doing, where I think I'm making a mockery of the league. And I said, Brian, I don't know what you're talking about. Settle down and tell me what your problem is. And he said, you know what my problem is? I said, no, I don't know what your problem is. It's 7 o'clock in the morning, and you're screaming at me. He said, you locked the referees in their room. They didn't get out till it was 2 or 3 in the morning. And I said, what do you mean? He says, yeah. He said, they finally got one of the security men heard them knocking on the door, and he unlocked the door. So it was about 3 o'clock. And I said, Brian, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to do an investigation myself, personally. And I'm going to call you back. So
what a fun.
I waited till about 3:30 in the afternoon, 4 o'clock. And I called him back. He says, Brian, you're right. They were locked in the room, and my security guy got them out. And he thinks there are a couple of guys hanging around there pretty boisterous and upset, and he thinks they probably slammed the lock on the door. And we don't know who they are.
You're unbelievable. I thought you told that story. No, maybe the story you had told.
I did tell that story.
You told that story, and then wasn't there a story about, wasn't there a situation where a coach got not locked in, but couldn't get out of the locker room for the next period, or was in the bathroom? Wasn't there another story like that?
Oh, that's another story. That's Fred Blair when I was playing.
Yes.
And we were playing in Pittsburgh, and it was the third period, and there was like 2 rooms to that locker room in Pittsburgh. It was different, but the back room had all the bathrooms in that, and so we were going on for the third period. You get a 3-minute buzzer in those days, then you get a 2-minute, then you get 1 minute. Well, we're waiting 3 minutes, no Blair, 2 minutes, no Blair, 1 minute, and then finally a policeman opened the door and said, "You guys got to come out here." So we all went out on the ice, and we went through the back end of the rink. We go out, and the policeman locked the door. And so we're about 7-8 minutes into the period, and we see in the far corner, right to the left of our goal, is where we come out.
Yeah.
And there's Ren hammering on the glass for the referee to blow a whistle. So he blows, when we finally got a whistle, they let him out, and he comes right across the rink, because you have to walk in the rink, that the coaches and the trainers, and he comes right across, and he said to our trainer, "You're fired. That's it. You locked me in the room." He didn't know anything about it. And Caesar was our backup goalie that day. We said, "Okay, Caesar, your coach." He changed the lines. So Caesar was standing up behind the bench, changing the lines.
That's too good. Well, did you ever find out how he got locked in, or what happened to him?
Yeah,
to
the
Ren?
policeman, he thought we were all over.
Oh, I see. Then he locked the door.
Room.
Okay,
and security-wise, he just the front. He's taking care of the locker because we got all our valuables in there, so he just locked the door.
It's a beautiful thing.
And he was standing down watching the game, and he finally heard the pounding. 6, 7, 8 minutes into the period, and he went back and unlocked it.
Didn't Flip tell us a story one time that in the CBA, he was mad at the refs and put like some Vaseline on the door handle or something?
Oh, is that right? I don't even remember that.
Yeah, Flip. Maybe someone will remember. It was like lacrosse or Sioux Falls, same thing, different time, and he was bitter.
Yeah.
He didn't lock him in, but he messed with him.
Messed with him somehow.
He was mad.
Those are the best. Those are the best.
All
stories.
you alpha dogs.
They're also good. By the way, you may not have in the first story been responsible for locking them in. But you didn't exactly tell your guy to let them out. We can't leave them locked in there. I mean, you didn't exactly protest much.
I wasn't thinking properly at that time. I told you I was upset about the game.
I was not thinking properly, Your Honor. Yeah, I love it.
I didn't think he was going to stay there all night. I just thought somebody's going to find out about it.
That's too good.
I wasn't feeling compassionate at the time. Let's just say that.
All right, let's get to game number 3 last night, and then we'll look back a little bit maybe to game 2 as well. But what stands out to you about last night? Is there a particular stretch where you thought the game was lost? How do you look at the game 3 setback for the Wild?
Well, it was all power plays. The difference in the power play.
Yeah.
They had complete control of the zone throughout their power plays, and they ended up scoring 3. We had trouble getting in the zone. We had trouble keeping the puck in the zone when we did get in, and we certainly had trouble moving the puck to open men when we were in the zone. It was like I can't remember when we were more effective on that many power plays. And I'm not talking about scoring the goals. I'm talking about puck possession in the opponent's zone and opportunities, good opportunities to shoot the puck. And it's funny because Michael Russo and I were talking this afternoon. He called me this afternoon, and he's as frustrated as I am. And one of the things, we had the same frustration. All of a sudden, now Dallas is doing a double drop coming up the ice, and they got control of the zone every time, which to me and to him, you've got an extra 3, 4, 5 seconds to react when they make the double drop, and the guy, whatever side of the ice he's coming up, he's not going to go. He can't go way across. His guy's already standing flat-footed at the blue line. So if they throw it in and that, we got as good a chance as them to get the puck and at least battle for the puck. So when they're coming with the double drop, I don't know why we're not reacting better to close the gaps to let them in so easily. I just think that we're not sharp at protecting our zone when they're coming with the second guy. When if you look at it and you look across the ice, essentially you've got 8 guys across the blue line, and you got the other guy coming with the puck. And most of them are, when I say flat-footed, they're into a little cruise, but not much speed.
Yeah.
Anyway, so why can't we do a better job of just closing that gap off? We did when earlier in the game when they came up one side, then after they switched it to the other side. But I don't care what side they come, or if they come right up the middle. Our guys have the gap at the blue line between our guys, and the lateral gap should be tighter than it is, and they shouldn't be able to get in the zone that much. Because if you make the guy just, weave away from you, nobody of their team could go over the blue line. It'll be offside. That's what happens many times during a game, just regular play. We had Wild that happened last night. Hartman's coming up the ice with the puck and his wings going with him.
Yep.
And right before the blue line, he sort of lifted his leg. He was going to just fire the puck in, then he hesitated and then went across the line. By then, the guys across the line. You can't hesitate when you're coming up with the puck. If you're the puck here and you're coming to the blue line, the key thing is if you've got somebody coming with speed on the side, if you make any move laterally before the blue line, that guy's going to go offside on your wing. So you've got to gain the blue line first before you make a move. And so now the guy with a double gap, if he's coming up, if he's going to make a move to get away from somebody's going to go offside if he carries the puck in, and they're not throwing it in, and he'd have to throw it in before the guy can move it. So I'm just surprised we can't do a better job of preventing their entry on the double gap that they're coming up with.
This is great inner hockey talk. So in your view, this is strategic, right? This is not necessarily...
It is, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's why, I maybe somebody else has been using it earlier in the year, but I've never seen a team use it as much as Dallas used it, especially last night with all the penalties they had. They started early in the game doing that, and you just got to make an adjustment to it.
Good text coming in regarding, and it follows up nicely in the power play. Zuccarello being out opens up a spot in the power play. What did Louis think of having Bobby Brink, a Game 1 scratch, on the top power play unit ahead of Faber, who's been one of the best players in the entire series so far? That would put Faber on the point with his regular D partner, Quinn Hughes, while Kaprizov, Boldy, and Eriksson Ek would be up front. Louis, your thoughts?
Well, in fact, it's not just Faber. I want to remind you that Spurgeon's played the power play a lot over the course of his career. And I just think not having the right shot and having to put Brink up there, and, they want him to be in that position. You could also use Hartman because he's a right-hand shot. But personally, I would like to see two defensemen, and that being either Spurgeon or Faber to go along with Hughes. They're both right-hand shots. They both play the power play. I think Spurgeon, has had more experience doing that and shoots off the pass well, and he also moves with the puck, like so does Faber. But Spurgeon's been very successful over the years, too. I just wish that they'd go with the two right-hand shots back there, just like, Dallas uses sometimes with two defensemen.
How critical also was it, Louis? Well, again, it's related once again to the inability to be successful on the power play more than once. But you're up, you climb back in, right? You're down 2-0, you tie it, you go ahead 3-2, and then you have a couple power play opportunities to build on that lead to get it to 4-2. And again, that's not the game's over, but you're at home. That's what you're trying to get it to, right? And to me, that was another critical aspect of this. When you come back and you are ahead, the inability to build on that 3-2 lead.
That to me was the game. I felt very uncomfortable in the third period from not having good power plays, not only scoring,
right?
Not having good power plays, because that almost gives them a way to get relax and get their win back. We weren't putting a lot of pressure on the goaltender. They weren't, having to battle us in the zone a lot. The defensemen were fighting for pucks a lot on their side, which, kept them from getting more tired out. And the worst thing of all was how many face-offs we lost in our zone.
Yes.
And their zone, but our zone we were killing the penalty, and their zone when we got the power play. It was one of the key plays in the whole game. I think was Eriksson Ek wins the face-off, and the 5-on-3 gets it down ice. So it essentially killed the latter part of that 5-on-3 penalty. So we got the 5-4 right away. But outside of that, look at when they scored the goals, Dallas. Look at how many times we had face-offs in our zone before they scored the puck, and we never got it out that often. And I don't know how we could lose so many of those. That was not very good for me. So I was uncomfortable because of the number of key face-offs we were losing in the zones, depending whether we're on defense or offense, and also not putting any pressure on the goaltender and the defenseman when we had the power play, let alone get good shots. And you know why Zuccarello's been a key. I want to say, yes, we have to get more from Kaprizov. He's got to find a way, even if he's got to do it alone. But just look at the difference of the seam passes coming across the Kaprizov from when Zuccarello's there and when he's not there. The best instance of all was the one Boldy fired across to Kaprizov, was way off his backhand. Kaprizov still had the agility to get the puck, get back in his forehand, and he hit the pipe. And had that shot been in that corner where he usually puts it, it would have gone in the net. Even after the extra time he took to get the bad pass, get it rearranged and get it off as quick as he did. Had that pass been on the stick, like Zuccarello just seems to put it all the time, had he been on that, you know what would happen? The game would have been over.
Yeah.
Just to me,
huge. Here's another text for you. This is from Nathan. Will you ask Louis his thoughts of Ben punching Boldy in the back of the head and whether or not he believes it was intentional?
Well, I got to tell you, I watched TNT, and they're discussing that, and Ace says, oh, no, that one wasn't intentional. Lundqvist essentially said, are you kidding me? The guy's name's Ben, not Ren. I mean, he's done that his whole career.
Yes.
But more than that, all you have to do is look at the film. When you see he's trying to jump around and miss him, well, why do you pull your stick back and then give it a little shot forward? Why did that stick come down forward? That's how you try and miss him. That was a complete joke. That was unintentional.
Yeah, I don't know how you come away from looking at that play and that conclusion.
You know,
it's just you don't have
not
to be
like Father Murphy or somebody doing that. I mean,
it was remarkable. You mentioned Kirill. I've got a lot of texts on him. Why does he seem? Is he playing with an injury? He isn't full tilt Kirill. Not retrieving pucks from the corners. He's fanning on shots. Just doesn't seem to be fully present. Here's the part I need help from you on, and then you can comment on what 763 guy asked as well. If we all believe Kirill is the superstar that he's supposed to be, I guess I don't understand how it can be explained because the guy he's used to playing isn't available. If you're that great, in all seriousness, shouldn't you be able to still be great working around that particular issue for a short period of games?
Yeah, that's a good point, except you have to remember one thing. Sometimes you react differently to not getting the pucks that you're used to getting or plays that are used to make. And in my mind, what's happening, it's not shouldn't he be great. It's when you try to be great rather than just being great. You know what the difference between trying to be great is and being great?
What's that?
Being great, you're doing everything you should be doing when you're doing it. Trying to be great is forcing things, doing things that you're not comfortable the way things are, and all of a sudden now you're doing things you don't normally do. And I really think he's trying to do too much in some of the things. He's trying to over-create rather than just what comes naturally, and that's where you get situations where he's not doing things he's normally doing. For instance, he'll try too many hoper passes from the side when they're in the zone because he wants something to happen. Nothing's happening, so he's taking passes back into the slot area where you got really tight defense. Because when you get in Dallas' zone, they really collapse around the net a lot. There's not a lot of open space in the slot area there. And trying to force pucks in there, you're losing them. And then they leave the zone. He's still battling for pucks, but then what happens when you start battling for pucks and somebody helps you start reaching to pull the puck out. You're essentially saying, okay, you fight him, I'm going to get the puck, rather than you will knock him off the puck or get position on the puck. And I think he's trying to force things to happen, which normally, they would happen just through the course of a game because of the way the game is flowing and the maybe peace of mind that he's got that things are okay. He's like everybody else. When things aren't going the way you want, you start pressing.
Yeah.
And I think that he's pressing.
Less instinctive. Real quick in our final minutes here, my sources say you were very unhappy with Joe Smith. You were very unhappy then by extension with me and some other people for criticizing the lack of maturity, I would say, in earlier in this series in game number 2. My sources say you were very bitter about that. You have a very different view of it. What are we missing?
Well, if your sources are right, I'm not bitter about it. I'm mad about it. Yeah, I think that's ridiculous. The lack of maturity. This is a battle. This is a war. Don't start telling me that you don't want the guys to play on edge. I want them on edge. I want them battling as hard as they can battle. You don't think Dallas is playing with an edge?
I want smart edge.
Pardon me?
I want smart edge.
Well, I didn't say you have a dumb edge, but
dumb penalties
I think
don't
that
help you.
People are calling it a dumb edge.
Yeah.
You tell me where we were dumb in that second game. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't heard you. I don't know if you were smart edge or dumb edge or whatever edge you got.
You were okay with the double minor from a veteran player who should know better.
Which one?
A veteran player who should know better. The double minor.
Oh, please! Yeah, are you kidding me? I have no problem with that at all. What was he supposed to do? The guy interfered with him, and he's riding him off the board. So he grabbed him around the neck, which is fine. You want to take a minor each, and he go to the screen and go down. Referees have made in my estimation, they've missed a number of calls that night on them. And why didn't they give Myers a double minor when he's putting or even more? Why didn't they give him a game suspension or more when he put Zuccarello with a needless elbow when the puck wasn't even there?
Sounds like you think those refs should have been locked in the locker room between periods.
Definitely, and throw the key away.
Yeah, exactly. Last item for you today: do we have to win Game 4?
Yes, very definitely. I don't see us coming back if we're 3-1 down. It could happen. It happened when we in the Colorado series, didn't know when they came back to win. But I just think that Dallas has got too much experience in playoff hockey to give up a 3-1 lead. So we have to win the next game. And nobody's talking about it. But what's the most amazing thing is the biggest question mark going into the playoffs, as Michael and I were talking about today, was Wallstead, and now he's been fantastic.
Can't argue with that part, right?
Yeah.
Well, what I'm curious about, we'll have plenty of time to talk about this, is how it plays out in the future, how it changes whatever goalie plans might have already been in place. You know what I'm saying?
Well, yeah. Well, there's a number of ways that you could talk about that. It's short-term and long-term. So I think that's definitely going to come into play. And if he continues to play like this, especially if he ever comes back and wins the series,
well,
it could have a real big effect on long-term.
I hope when we chat next week, this series is still going, or that this season is.
So do I.
I mean, I don't want to. I want to see this extended out, Luigi. I really do.
Well, it's too much fun not to see.
That's it, exactly.
Everybody wants to see this go 7 because it's been the most competitive and exciting series we've had so far.
Yeah, it's true. In fact, you can argue that both the basketball team and the hockey team are in the maybe the best first round series. I mean, that's the thing. So you want to see.
And that's right. You look at, and wasn't it fun last night to see Jefferson at the game, and then all the other Vikings really enjoying it like that?
Well, actually, a couple texters have said they advise that the Wild do not invite Vikings to future playoff games for all the obvious reasons, which I thought was kind of funny. Pretty good line, but you were going to say? Go ahead.
Jefferson, for his first hockey game, he said he'd never seen hockey. I'd like to see his reaction or hear today what he thought about it.
That's a good idea. Yeah, maybe one of the media jackals can find him. We appreciate the bonus time today, my friend. As always, we'll chat next week.
Okay, nice talking to you.
Always
See you
a
later.
pleasure.
Thanks.
Lou Nanne, brought to you by Kemp's, as always. We're going to have a brief ode to a dead guy interlude, one could say. A massive pop rock name passed away just within the last couple of days. And we're going to get one of our favorite music writers to ode him and maybe give a little bit of background if you're not particularly familiar with the outstanding career of Dave Mason. That's next.